Hey guys, it's Vanessa from Unmasked. After months of really nothing new and just, people with the same old conspiracy theories, and in my opinion, milking this case for every click that it's worth, we actually do have some new facts to discuss. The past week has been really interesting, complete with some pretty dramatic back and forth power plays between the prosecution and the defense. It's a lot, and I know it can get a little bit confusing. I just wanted to hit on a few of the most intriguing things, in my opinion, that have gone on lately, giving us a little more insight about the case, including today's proceedings. But first, before we get started, please take a few seconds to hit the like, subscribe, and set the bell to all so you'll be notified of my videos on this case and others. Okay, so let's start with how we got to today and the clues that were dropped during today's much shorter than anticipated pretrial hearing that seemed to hint at what kind of defense they might present for Bryan. So, of course, last week, the prosecution filed a motion for a protective order regarding the genetic testing, and we got the bombshell news that Bryan's cheek swab taken after his arrest made him a statistical match to the DNA found on the button of the sheath that was found under Maddie's body. I've seen some different theories put out making some excuses for this, but they fall flat for me because it's science and basically a statistical impossibility that it belongs to anyone else besides Bryan Kohberger. In fact, the sheath being there at all is what led me down the path of my theory on what happened on the night of the murders. My theory is that Maddie was his intended target and that he did stalk her in advance, and that's why he went straight upstairs and had the mistaken belief that he was going to be alone and uninterrupted. I also believe wholeheartedly that he intended on assaulting her, but he didn't end up doing so for a few possible reasons, or a combination of a few reasons. It's also very possible that he did not know that Kaylee was going to be there that night or that weekend. She did have a brand new car, and it's likely he wouldn't have recognized it parked there. In the PCA, it reads that Dylan thought she heard Kaylee playing with Murphy that morning. We know that Murphy was shut in Kaylee's room, even though Kaylee's parents said that Murphy always slept with either Kaylee or Maddie, and that came directly from Kaylee's mom's mouth. We also know that Murphy supposedly did not have any blood on him. All of that leads me to believe that Kaylee was playing with Murphy when she heard a noise and got up to check it out. I showed this picture in one of my previous videos on Idaho 4. There's even a picture of her bed where it kind of looks like it's through the window, but it does appear that her covers could even be tossed back, which again would fit with that theory. It would make sense that Kaylee would shut Murphy in the room behind her. A puppy is not quiet, and if she's going to quietly check out a noise, Murphy would have given her away. I think she walked in on Bryan attacking Maddie and was just trying to protect her friend. I believe that Kaylee threw off his entire plan from that moment, ruined his perfectly planned fantasy, I have air quotes, in his own head at least, and that's why her injuries were so severe. He was in a blind rage towards her. So as far as the DNA match goes, there's only a few directions that they can really potentially go with this, and none of them are very believable. And this leads me to some of the defense's requests they made last week and today. Their options are to say that, after purchasing that exact same knife on Amazon and some turn of horrible luck, it was stolen from him by the killer. They could, since it's touch DNA, they could say that the DNA was transferred there another way. However, if that was the case, then one would reasonably expect that there would be no other corroborating evidence to link him to the murders, which does not seem to be the case at all. I mean, did the person also steal his car, his cell phone, and his eyebrows? I doubt it. Otherwise, they will have to attack the science and the process behind the DNA and behind the entire investigation, which it seems to me is going to be the direction they go. I mean, as we know, this is now a death penalty case in a state that just decided to revisit the firing squad. because they don't have enough drugs for lethal injection, which is a problem that many states are facing right now and have been facing for some time. So I believe there's 5 states that have gone back to the firing squad. And who knows, this could be the way they have to carry out their executions for the foreseeable future. They should be looking at every single thing and making sure that they give him the very best defense possible. So I do see that they are just doing their jobs and appear to be doing it well. Of course, the state is arguing that the genetic testing details should not be a part of the discovery and that it's somewhat irrelevant as they use the cheek swab to match the DNA that was left on the sheath. The defense also mentioned other DNA that was found at the crime scene. I was going back through all of my notes from December the other day, and we can't forget that investigators were downloading other people's phones and collecting DNA samples from other individuals up through the first week of December. One would assume that they have ruled out those other people and that all of the other corroborating evidence led them to zero in on Bryan Kohberger. After all, as it was a party house, it would make sense that many of those people would have left DNA in that house. However, it does not make sense that Bryan's DNA is in the house, as he admittedly has, quote, no connection to the victims. The interesting new information today that kind of hints to what the defense is going to be was that they asked for all of the tips that were given to the police and the training records of the police officers who interviewed the key witnesses. There are 3 officers in particular that they are most interested in. After watching the full hearing today, it sounded to me like they're interested in the records of the officers who interviewed the 2 surviving roommates. That leads one to wonder just how damaging their statements are going to be to the defense. The state objected to this, stating that the training records of the officers are not relevant to the case. The defense also requested the examiner report who was told to find the white Hyundai Elantra and the FBI CAS team report on the cell phone information, which the state advised was still being completed. Both of those reports have to be given to the defense by July 14th. After seeing the defense's motion last week, where one of the things they wanted was all of the mistakes made by the testing lab 6 months before and 6 months after they did the testing for this case, it's obvious to me that they're going to be looking to attack the credibility of the police, the labs, the lab technicians, the state experts, etc., and trying to find reasonable doubt in the integrity of the investigation. Again, I think that's just them providing a solid defense for him and doing their job, and I think it was pretty much expected once the definitive DNA evidence came out. Of course, there's been a ton of buzz around one particular thing that was in the defense's motion last week, where they said, and I'm paraphrasing, that there was no connection between Bryan and the victims and that there was no DNA evidence in Bryan's car or apartment. I wish that statement would have been clarified today. It wasn't, that I've seen. Of course, many people ran with that statement, but I think it needs much more clarification. I just do. The defense has made statements before that have not been quite accurate. One example of that is when they asserted that Bethany had exculpatory evidence and they wanted to depose her. The internet went crazy with that statement, only for the prosecution to come back and say there was no exculpatory evidence and we never heard anything about it again. So who knows if that's an actual factual statement or the defense just trying to press the prosecution. Also, there's the fact that the defense has asked for a stay of proceedings, citing that they need more discovery, yet when it's convenient, they seem to speak as if they do have quite a bit of evidence. So I'll believe it when more information is released. To me, that one statement means nothing on its face. Even if this is an accurate statement, it still doesn't explain how Bryan's DNA ended up under Maddie's body, especially if there are going to be witnesses that come out and say that Bryan bleached his car, as is rumored. The judge also advised that he is going to issue a new order to clarify that under the current gag order, law enforcement is included as they are, quote, agents of the prosecution, and that the defense's investigators and expert witnesses are also included in the current gag order. He reiterated that he doesn't want a trial in the public, he wants a trial in the courtroom. As far as the house on King Road, cleaning crews were there this afternoon and it looks like they're getting it ready to demolish it. There is no set date yet that I've seen, but I have heard that they would like it done before the fall semester starts back up. So what do you guys think? Do you think that the defense's statement about there being no DNA evidence in Bryan's car or apartment is true? Also, what do you think Bryan's defense is going to be? Please let me know in the comments below. I don't know, you guys. I personally think that there are going to be some shocking revelations that come out in this trial. We'll see if it stays on schedule for October. Right now, with the way things are going, it seems like it's possible it could be delayed. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe and see you next video.